Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jackie if you're new here. So I posted my vlog for the Greek Islands trip with EF Ultimate Break a few weeks ago. I've been back for quite some time now. It's been a couple months, but it's finally time to sit down and film my Greek Islands trip review, recap, in-depth talk type video that I do after every single trip. In this video, I'll break down my specifics about my flights, the itinerary, what we did every day. Of course, disclaimer, the trip will obviously vary from tour director to tour director and from season to season, and from just like things happen all the time. So like the times that I state in this video will not always be the same times that you will do things on your trip, but this just is to give a better rough idea about how the trip is structured and what goes down. And yeah, I would like to start off by saying that I am an EF Ultimate Break ambassador, and what that means is that I have a link that you can use. It'll be down below. It'll activate a code UAJacqueline100, and with that you will get $100 off your first trip with EF Ultimate Break. So use my link down below to book your trip and you'll get a discount, and it'll allow me to keep traveling with them and to make these videos and enjoy life. So win-win, you know? Okay, so let's get right into this. I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible because my review recap videos are always so long. They're always like over an hour because I love to yap. I'm just a yapping queen. So let's get right into it. Flights. I did have EF book my flights. You can always opt out of that. A lot of people have been doing that more lately because they like to have control over flights and they like to use their credit card points, or like whatever the case may be. They find deals or whatever. But I always have EF book my flights because it's just like, I love the convenience of it. I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to spend hours researching which flight option would be best and the deals and whatnot. Like, no, you do that, tell me when to show up, tell me where to be. So that's what I do. With that, there's always a risk that you're not going to get the best flights, and in this case I was not the biggest fan of my flights, I will say. Pause. Back to the ambassador thing. Although I am an ambassador with EF Ultimate Break, I want to put it out there that I'm not going to lead you astray. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I will give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm just not the type of person that's going to lie to you to try to get you to book a trip because you're spending your hard-earned money or your parents' hard-earned money, respect if that is you, to book a trip. And these things, they're not the cheapest things in the world, and I'm not going to lie to you so you book it and then you go and you hate it. So I'm gonna tell you everything. Back to the video. So I wasn't the biggest fan of my flight path. I got there a lot later than the rest of the group. I was one of the last people to arrive even though I was one of the first people to leave, so that was annoying. And then I was one of the first people to leave at the end of the trip while everyone left earlier, and then I got home super duper late. I'll go into that more, but it was just not my favorite flight path that I've had. So I'm from LA, clearly. I leave from LAX, so my first flight was from LAX to CDG, which is in Paris, and my first flight left at 3:20 p.m. from LAX and arrived in Paris at 11:10 a.m. the next day. So I was supposed to leave at 1:50ish and arrive at 6 in Athens, but I actually ended up leaving around 2:40ish and arriving around 7ish to Athens. So a whole hour later than I was already supposed to get there, and I was already supposed to get there like 4 hours later than everyone else. So I was upset. Those were my flights there. So that was that. And then on the way back, I was even more upset because at this point you're tired. You're probably a little bit under the weather because I get sick at the end of every single EF trip, and it's not, I don't know why. It's probably because I don't hydrate well. You're just around so many people, you're go, and you're not really nourishing your body well. But I get semi-sick at the end of every trip, and that was true for this trip as well. So I was just trying to go home, but my flight wasn't out of Athens until 3:30 p.m. Everyone else left at like 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 in the morning. So I was alone. My tour director had left at this point, and they were like, oh, just the taxi's coming for you. I'll make sure to coordinate with them. I'll be in contact with you, but I'm leaving. So yeah. I was on my own. It wasn't bad. I got to relax all morning, and I sat in the hotel for hours until it was time to leave, but that was kind of lame that everyone else had already left. I would have much rather gone home and been home a lot earlier. So anyway, I left Athens at 3:30. I was flying to JFK, which is in New York, and I arrived there around 7:40 p.m. and I was leaving at 9:30 p.m. from New York to get to LAX at 12:42 a.m. Yes, you heard that correctly, a.m. after midnight. So that was a fun time because I always work immediately after my trip, like the next day. I don't take an extra day off because all my PTO is accounted for, and so I only take the days that I absolutely have to off. So I had to work the next day, and that's rough because if you're from LA, you know that it takes forever to get out of LAX and to just get home because I live like an hour away from LAX. So fun times. Another note about this, like the flight path back, I did have to pick up my baggage at JFK, which I haven't had to do at any of my other transfers before, but I did have to pick up my baggage and recheck it and then go through customs and security and TSA again. So that was not a fun time, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. I was there for, like I said, an hour and 50 minutes, and I did get through and have plenty of time to sit at my gate, and I had a meal and all of that. So an hour and 50 minutes was more than enough time for me on that day. So maybe I just got lucky, but yeah. Overall, no real issues with my flights, but I was just not the happiest with the itinerary. Like I said, I arrived a lot later than the group, and then I left a lot later than the group, which maybe other people would be happy about, like getting more time in Athens, but at that point I really just wanted to come home. Like, everyone was tired by the end of the trip, and then everyone had left, so what was I supposed to do, you know? So I was ready to come home. Oh, another thing, because my flight into Athens on the way there was arriving so late, we arrived at 7 p.m. I almost missed the welcome dinner. I wasn't the only one, it was me and then a couple, so there was 3 of us. We almost missed the welcome dinner, and then I arrived back at home on the way back after midnight. Like, that's insane to me. But I got to Athens and I got back home safely. I got to enjoy my trip, and it could have been worse. Oh, all my flights were Air France, and then I had Delta from JFK to LAX. So nothing too terrible. I had great meals on all my flights, and it was a good time. So now let's get into accommodations, which is usually what people are most concerned about with these trips. So I will say the accommodations were okay for this trip. Again, not gonna sugarcoat it. There were some that were just not the greatest, and I've compared the accommodations that we had to what other Greek island trips have had in the past, and some of them are the same, but others, like, I see that they're not using as often, so maybe our feedback worked and they're not using them as often, or something happened in our trip where others weren't available. But these are the places that we stayed in. So in Athens, when we first arrived, we stayed at Hotel Tiare Athens. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's going to be here. I really like this one. It was really clean and nice, and it had an elevator, although the elevator fits like 1 person, so do with that information as you will. You'll probably have to be waiting for a minute if you overpack like me and don't want to take the stairs. But yeah, there is an elevator. We got to walk to like the city center where we went to all the rooftop bars and all of that. There were a lot of little restaurants and little stores around, and like immediately in front of the hotel is like this like fountain thing and like a roundabout, so it was like a little central area, and it was really nice. If you watch my vlog, you would know that the bathroom situation was weird at this one. Like, there was no divide between the bathroom and the shower, so when you shower it just gets wet everywhere. But I mean, I had a room to myself, so it wasn't a big deal. I just showered, did my thing, and then got out of the bathroom and let it dry. So yeah, that was fine. In Santorini, we stayed at SMY Horizontes. Again, it's gonna be here. This one was really cute. It had a really nice pool area, but I will say the beds weren't the comfiest. I had a room to myself, but even though I did have a room to myself, I still had 2 twin beds, so that was, you know, not the greatest. Also, the balcony that I had was really, really cute, and the surrounding area was cute, although there's like nothing around it. So yeah, not much to do around the immediate hotel area if you are looking to like walk somewhere and do something. No, it's not gonna happen there. I also had a really hard time figuring out how to use the key because it's an actual key in the door. I struggled most nights. I almost peed my pants one night. TMI probably, but I almost peed my pants one night because I couldn't freaking get the door open and I was struggling, but I made it. No accidents happened. So yeah, that was SMY Horizontes. Also, I have room tours of all these places in my vlog, so go check that out if you haven't already. This is just like a rough overview. In Paros, we stayed at Siren Hotel. This is one of those hotels where I say that, like, when I look at the accommodations that other Greek island tours have stayed in, this isn't one of the ones that I usually see, so don't know why we ended up here or how, but none of us liked this place. It was just really run down. Bed was uncomfortable as heck. The bathroom, it just gave us all the heebie-jeebies. It was really small, like the shower was really small, and there was a curtain that obviously cut off the shower from the bathroom, and the curtain would just, like, since the shower was so small, the curtain would like touch you while you're showering, and it just felt unsanitary. And yeah, I was not a fan of this hotel at all, but you know, it did what it had to do. Like, we slept there and we had a roof over our heads and there was AC, so luckily I did get the floor level, so I didn't have to go upstairs or anything because there are no elevators at this hotel, or not that I know of at least. But with that, I did get a room that was like right by the lobby. Like, literally I walked out of my door and there was the front desk, and because of that I always heard like the bell, people trying to get people's attention and people walking in and people walking around, so like that was not fun. But luckily whenever I was going to bed I was tired out, so I slept through all of that. I did not try the breakfast at this hotel, but there was a bakery like on the corner across the street, and it was chef's kiss. Those ham and cheese croissants were the best that I've had in my life, and I don't even like coffee, but I had a cappuccino freddo, I believe that's what it's called, every single morning that we were there, and it was so good. Also, this hotel is walking distance to the beach, and there are a lot of little shops and restaurants walking distance, so the location was good. The hotel itself was just not it. But like I said, I don't really see that they use it very often, at least when I hear about other Greek island trips. Next, in Mykonos, we stayed at the Paradise Beach Resort. This one was really nice. I really liked it. The breakfast was pretty good. The spread was like outside near the pool under this like covered little area, and it was really cute, very aesthetic. The pool area, it had a view and had nice chairs and all of that. You'll see it in my vlog if you've watched it. But yeah, location was also 10 out of 10 because in Mykonos all we really did was go to the beach club, and we were literally staying on property. So you walk down the ramp from the hotel and you were at the beach club, which was so convenient if you want to go party and then just have to crawl back to bed. Again, I struggled with the key. I don't know if it was just me, but it's one of those physical keys, and I struggled. One night I came back from the beach club and I wasn't drunk or anything, so no, it wasn't that I was drunk, but I had to go to the front desk and ask them for help, and then they came upstairs and they were like, all you have to do is this, and they opened the door in like 2 seconds. So I was like embarrassed, but I still couldn't figure it out after that. So I don't know. Oh, there was an elevator at this one, so that was nice. There was also, like I said, the beach club is walking distance, and the beach club has like restaurants and whatnot, and there's also like a liquor store type situation, like a Quick Mart thing, walking distance. So I went there to get chips and stuff for my ferries. And yeah, overall really liked this hotel, and it gave me like Flintstones vibes inside. I had a really nice view from my balcony. The bathroom was nice and the AC worked, and it was great. Again, I did have a room to myself, and I still had the 2 twin beds, but wasn't an issue at this hotel because the beds were a little comfier than they were in Santorini, so that was nice. And lastly, when we went back to Athens, we stayed at President Hotel. That was probably because it's closer to the airport, so I think that's why they choose a different one than we had at the beginning. This one was really nice. Like, I felt bougie. The breakfast was my favorite. They had a really good spread, and because I had a really late flight, I had time to just sit there and enjoy it and try every single thing that they had, and I sure did, and it was really good. There was nothing I didn't like. The location was not as convenient as the first one though, because for the farewell dinner, we did go back to the like city center type thing that we went to the first night, and it was not walking distance from our hotel. We had to take the metro, and the metro is a little bit of a walk away from the hotel. So location probably not the greatest. I also didn't venture out around there besides going to the farewell dinner, so couldn't tell you. But yeah, there was also a rooftop pool at this one, and I didn't check it out, but it was there. And this one did have lots of elevators, and they were big elevators, so A+. It just felt more like what we'd be used to going to hotels at home. So that's what that one felt like. And that's it for accommodations. Overall, pretty good. Paros accommodation, not good at all. Everything else was passable or really nice. So yeah, not bad. Next, let's talk about the group dynamic, because for this trip it was a lot different than all the other trips I've done. This was my 5th trip with EF Ultimate Break, and I've done 3 out of the 5 solo. So yeah, I feel like I've gotten a good sense of what the usual EF dynamic is, or like vibe is, and this one was just really different. Not in an entirely bad way, but just different. So I went solo on this trip, and usually on every single other EF trip I've done, there have been lots of solo travelers and then groups sprinkled in, like siblings or couples and groups of friends all sprinkled in, but never the majority of the trip being groups. Like usually the majority of the group are solo travelers. So that's what I thought going into it. I'm like, okay, another solo trip. It's never been a problem in the past, so I'm gonna do it again. Tell me why. Already in the group chat leading up to the trip, I can see that there were a lot of groups, like, oh, me and 8 of my friends are going together, or me and my brother, or me and my sister, or me and my husband. Like, it was always groups that were talking, and I was like, oh, maybe the solo travelers are just shy and not talking. It's fine, I'll get to the trip and then I'll meet them. I get to the trip and I am the only girl solo traveler, and then there are 2 guys that are solo travelers, and that's it. Everyone else is part of a group. So that was just different, and not in a bad way. Everyone was welcoming, and I did talk to everyone, and everyone talked to each other, but I feel like I definitely had to get out of my shell and like make an effort to be included to things, because I was a solo traveler. I had no roommate also, so I was already on my own. So yeah, luckily the first night I made friends with a brother-sister duo, and they were amazing and included me in all their plans going forward. And then everyone was always like in the group chat, like, oh hey, we're doing this tonight, if anyone wants to join, we're doing this. So like I always had the opportunity to join plans, and I never felt left out. But it was just different. It was just a different experience to feel so alone in a group of people, I guess. But yeah, it didn't ruin the trip, but I feel like the trip would have been a lot different if there had been more solo travelers. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you've been on an EF Ultimate Break trip, I feel like you would kind of feel what I'm saying. Also, if you're a solo traveler, don't let this scare you, because like I said, every single other trip that I've done always has majority solo travelers. So I don't know what was up with this one. Maybe the timing that I chose, not sure, but I was the only girl solo traveler. Yeah, weird, but we made do and we had fun. Now for the nitty-gritty, let's go into the itinerary. On arrival day, like I already said, I already went through my flights and all that, but I arrived late, and the rest of the group had already had like their welcome meeting where they like do the safety information and like a little general rundown of what the trip is going to be. And they had already left the hotel for the welcome dinner by the time we had arrived. Actually, by the time we had landed at the airport, they were like already leaving for the welcome dinner. So we were still had like an hour drive into the city to get to our hotel and whatnot. So we were extremely late, but like I said, I wasn't alone. Luckily, I was with a couple, so me and them, we met the taxi driver. They had an EF Ultimate Break sign, and they told us exactly where to meet them. They sent pictures, so it wasn't bad. We met them outside of a pharmacy, I believe, at the airport, and we got to the taxi to the hotel. We changed super duper quick, got our rooms, and then we walked over to meet the group at the welcome dinner. So luckily the welcome dinner was within walking distance from the hotel. It was like a 15-minute walk, and it was easy to find. So well, easy-ish to find. So our tour director sent the location in the chat, and we followed it and met the group at the location. I will say, once you get to the city center, everything kind of looks the same. So the pin had taken us to the general location, and then I was just asking all of the restaurants, like, oh, are you this restaurant? Are you this restaurant? Is there a group here of like 20 travelers? And finally I found them sitting outside somewhere, and I got to join the group. And dinner consisted of, what was it? Gyros? But it was like a deconstructed plate. So you had your chicken and you had everything else, like the veggies separate, like everything, and then you had wine or soda. I believe those were the only two options. Honestly, when I got there I ordered my wine and I didn't even ask for the rest of the options, so that was that. And then you had a dessert, which I was stuffed by the time dessert came, so I didn't have it, but yeah, it was an option, it was there. After dinner we went to a few rooftop bars for a bit. I forget the name of the first one that we tried, but they were booked and there was no room for us. So then we went next door, and there was one called MS Roof Garden, and this one was really cute. There was like flowers and lights and a really good view of the Acropolis, which you can see in my vlog if you've watched it. But yeah, we just went there, had a few drinks, and like got to know each other, because like I said, I was the only solo traveler, so I really wanted to get to know people and like form my bonds and spread my roots and get to know these people, because I had to put in some work to make some friends, okay? But yeah, a group of us went. I think it was like 10 of us went and did that, and it was a fun time. After that, on the way back to the hotel, we had decided we were going to go to bed pretty early-ish because the next day was going to be jam-packed. But on the way back to the hotel, we saw this sign for like another rooftop bar, and we were like, should we send it? And 3 of us ended up sending it, and the rest of the people went back to the hotel. So we ended up sending it, and that rooftop bar was really freaking chill. The bartender was so nice, and he like was like, oh, what do you want to drink? And I was like, anything with tequila, surprise me. So he was like, oh, I like this challenge, and he was like making us drinks. So that was cool. It also had a view of the Acropolis, but not as close up and kind of off to the side, but still super chill. There was no one else up there, so it was literally just us 3, and it was great. It was a good time. And then we walked back to the hotel and went to bed. Then that led to the first actual day in Athens, first full day in Athens. So we had breakfast from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. because we were leaving the hotel at 8:10. So they give you this time frame for breakfast, and you don't have to go at 7 a.m. I'm pretty sure for this I went down at like 7:50 because we had to leave at 8:10. So you just go whenever you want to before you have to leave. Or if you don't want breakfast, you don't have to go. But breakfast was there. We left the hotel at 8:10, and then we took the metro to the Acropolis. Then the walking tour started, and they took us with the tour all the way to the top of the Acropolis, and that's where they gave us some free time to just explore by ourselves, take pictures, and wander. And that's what we did. After that, we had a meeting point back at the bottom of the Acropolis, so we met up, and then they took us to this jewelry store that had custom pendants, and I really wanted one, but I underestimated how much they would be, so I didn't end up getting one. But they were there. On the pendants you can get your name in like Greek letters, so it was really cute, but I underestimated how much they were, so I didn't get them. They start around 100 euros, which probably isn't much, but like I didn't expect it, so I didn't end up pulling the trigger. And then we had a walking tour of Plaka, which is a town in Athens. Super cute, colorful buildings. There's ruins just randomly in the street because it's Athens, and people around, and cute restaurants and all of that jazz. So we did a little walking tour and ended at an olive oil souvenir shop where they had a bathroom that we could use. And also this souvenir shop, what was really cool is that they knew our tour director, so we could buy a whole bunch of stuff there, and then they would hold it for us until the end of the trip and give it to us at the farewell dinner, so you don't have to like pack it and look around from island to island. So that was really nice, and I really wish I had taken more advantage of that and bought more, but I just bought like one thing of olive oil, and then I had them hold it for me, and I really wish I had bought more. Now in hindsight, I did try to go back, but that's another story for the end of the trip when I get there. But yeah, that was really nice. After that, people who didn't sign up for the food tour. So on the EF's website, you may see that there's an optional excursion that you can add to your trip that's for a food tour. I added it, and so that was right after. It started at 1 p.m. to 3:15 p.m. and whoever hadn't booked that day had free time for the rest of the day. But I did the food tour around, I would say around like 12 of us ended up doing the food tour, and I really freaking love this. I would definitely recommend. I don't regret doing it. We had so much food. It started with like this pretzel type thing, and then we got a gyro, which was the best gyro that I had in the whole trip, so do not regret it at all. And then we went to this deli that had like meats and cheeses, and then we had shots of Greek liquor there, a couple shots of Greek liquor there, and it's really strong, so that was fun. And then we went to this other restaurant where we ended, and they had a full spread of every single Greek appetizer that you can think of. We were served, and so by the end of this, you cannot eat a single thing anymore. You are so stuffed, and it was just all so good. And I feel like otherwise I wouldn't have tried a lot of the things that they presented to us, because at a restaurant myself, like I wouldn't venture out and like, oh, I'm going to try this appetizer that I've never heard of or tried before and order it for myself and pay for it and blah blah blah. So it was really nice to like have it all presented to us and brought to us, and we can try a little bits and pieces of every single thing. So that was really nice. And the guide that we had for the food tour was so fun and explained things so well, and it was just a really fun time. Oh, and then after that, we actually didn't end there, I lie. We then went to this like dessert shop where we got cappuccino Freddos, and I forget what dessert, but it was so good. So good, but like I said, by then you're so full you don't even want it. So that was the food tour. 10 out of 10 recommend. Lastly, there was another optional excursion that was offered by our tour director, and those that didn't book had free time. But I love the optional excursions. Like I book everything, so I did end up booking this. I forget how much this was, probably from 75 to 100 euros that we paid our tour director directly. But it was an optional Greek evening dinner show type deal. If we opted for it, we left the hotel at 6:50. So between the food tour and this optional excursion, we did have around 3 hours at the hotel to just chill and unwind and nap. That's what I did. So yeah, we left at 6:50, and they drove us in vans to the location for the Greek evening dinner show thing, which was at the top of like a hill. So you had like a really nice view of Athens from there. And again, I will probably recommend every single excursion that I'm going to talk about, but again, I recommend this excursion so much. If it is offered to you, take it. 10 out of 10. The food was okay. It wasn't the best. It's like a buffet, but the show was really entertaining, and it was fun to like be there, and it's like bottomless wine. So yeah, the olive oil, I will say, was the best olive oil I've ever had in my life. So I wish I had like bought some there or like had some more, but it was so good. The view was nice. And then we got back to the hotel around 11 p.m. and that was it for Athens, really. The next day we were leaving to Santorini. So the next day was our travel day to Santorini. We had a really early start. So we left the hotel at 5:25 a.m. because we had a 7 a.m. ferry. The ferry was from 7 a.m. to 11:40 a.m. so one of the longer ferries that you'll have on this trip. I slept the whole way, I'm pretty sure, or read for some of it. Some people went up to the top of like the ferry, sat outside and whatnot. Our tour director the day before had actually warned us to pack beach essentials in like whatever carry-on backpack or purse thing that we were carrying with us, because as soon as we arrived to Santorini, we got a bus and they took us directly to the beach. So we didn't have access to like the rest of our bags because they were in the bus. So we carried like bathing suits, flip-flops, towels, anything else that you needed, sunscreen, with you in the backpack so that you don't have to get stuff out of your big bags when the bus drops you off. So we got to the black sand beach. Oh, and the reason we did this is because we got to Santorini around 11:40 a.m. like I said, and that's too early to check into the hotel, so our rooms weren't ready. So we went to the beach instead. We rented chairs. So the way it worked is you had to spend $20 on food and drinks, and then the chair was free. So basically it's like a minimum spend limit, and it was just 20 bucks. So that was nice. I ordered calamari and a nice passion fruit margarita, and it was delish. And I read my book and chilled on the chair until it was time to leave. I will say I didn't go in the water that day because it was pretty cloudy and cold. So yeah, all of us just kind of just chilled and sat there, took naps and bread and ate and drank. So that was nice. And then we went back to the hotel to rest and get ready for dinner in Thera. Thera is a really nice town in Santorini. I loved it. We ended up eating as a group at a restaurant that our tour director like made a reservation at for us, and we got to watch the sunset, the prettiest sunset I've ever seen in my life. Food was delicious. I had shrimp orzo, I'm pretty sure, that night, and the drinks were good, and it was just great. So we had dinner as a group. Oh, and at this restaurant there was also like this little pathway that was like a secluded private area that belonged to the restaurant where you can take pictures, and that's where a lot of us spent a little bit of time before we got our food to have like a photo shoot, and it was just really cool. After that, you basically have free time in town, and so we went to this club called Tropical Club, and it was like on the edge of the cliff, and it was just really nice. The vibes were there, you know, the vibes were vibing. We had a few drinks there, and then our tour director was like, let's meet at this place called Town Club at 11 p.m. and we'll get drinks and whatnot. So we ended up going to Town Club at 11 p.m. I had seen videos and pictures of Town Club before, and maybe it was because we went there right before like the peak season started, but it was empty. Basically, it was just us and a few other people, but we made the party, so that's all that mattered. Town Club was fun. I'm pretty sure our tour director got us shots a couple times, and we were dancing on the bar. I will say I was dancing on the bar, and then when I wanted to get down, I like jumped down, and then my purse broke. Like the strap broke and ended up on the floor, so I had to carry my purse in my hand the rest of the night. But whatever, it was a fun night. The music is very like poppy. They play the YMCA, if that says anything to you. You'll hear Mamma Mia songs more than once. They're dancing on bars, like I said. There's whistles, there's drums, there's lights, there's confetti, there's smoke, there's like everything that you can imagine at a Vegas club in one place. So there's bird cages that you can dance in. Yeah, so like the place in general was really fun, and we stayed there for just like an hour and a half, and you could have stayed longer, but like I said, it was just us in that bar basically. So we were like, all right, let's go, let's take this party elsewhere. By then we were all pretty much feeling it, so we were like, oh, let's all leave together and we can like hang out at the hotel. So that's what we did. Our original plan was to go to the pool, but the pool was closed by the time we got there, and the pool bar was also closed. So someone had bought a bottle at this little kiosk thing before we got to the bus after the club, and we drank from that and just like chilled and talked for the rest of the night. And then we went to bed. The next day was a full day in Santorini. We had breakfast from 7 to 10. The breakfast is like right next to the pool, and it was good. It wasn't the greatest. They didn't have that many options, but it was nice. This morning we actually had basically an entire free morning until 2:30. So I slept in, I got breakfast, I went back to my room, I changed into some swimwear, and then I laid out by the pool. And the pool was really nice. You'll see it in my vlog. That's what most of the group ended up doing. We all hung out by the pool, we ordered lunch by the pool, and then we went back to our rooms, got ready, because at 2:30 was when our wine tasting excursion started. Again, this is another excursion that you can book through the EF Ultimate Break website when you're booking your trip. It's an optional one that you can add on. I really liked it personally. Everyone in our group also did it, but I've heard from other trips that there are people that end up skipping this one, so it's all personal preference. So at 2:30 we left for the wine tasting, and it started with a sightseeing, walking tour of this cute little town where we got to see what Santorini houses used to look like before. Like they were like cave houses type things, and we got to learn a lot about the history. We walked around there for a while. Then we went to the winery where we got to taste 4 different wines, and we got to like pair it with like cheeses and different snack type things. And then at the end we all got one final glass of whatever wine that we preferred, so that was nice. And the view at this winery was amazing. You get to see basically where the ferries like dropped you off. Like I forget what it's called, but it has a name. It's the cliff area where they drop you off, but it was a really good view. You got to see like the cruises just like out there docked, and it was just nice. Then we took the bus to Oya for dinner. Oya is what you would imagine when you think Santorini. That's where the blue domes are, that's where all the white buildings are. But like any touristy place, iconic place, it was freaking packed. There were so many people there. And something you may not realize is that you'll have to wait if you want a picture with the blue domes. Like wait in line. That goes on forever. So we did. We went to one of the iconic locations to get a picture. We waited, I would say, like maybe 20 something minutes in line. And then when you get to the front, there was like people arguing like, oh, are you cutting? Like, we've been waiting here forever, like blah blah blah, get out of the way. Like, people were getting snippy for a dang picture. But anyway, we finally get there, we take our pictures, and we bounce. And then you basically have free time, but our tour director had like recommended this restaurant to us, and he was like, I'm eating here at this time. If you guys are interested, I can make a reservation, and like some of us can all eat together if you're interested. So we ended up going there just because we didn't want to deal with the crowds and having to figure out where to eat. I will say that the location that our tour director was eating at didn't have like a view of the sunset, so we didn't get to see that. But I didn't want to deal with the crowds, so I really didn't care. It was fine. The suggested restaurant that we ended up eating at was called Scala. The food was alright. It wasn't the best that I had on the trip, and like I said, there was no view, and they also took forever to give us our check, but you know, whatever. There was a lot of us. So yeah, that was that. And then we headed back to the hotel at 9:30 p.m. and we also got free gelato before that. So our tour director got us gelato before we left. That's all we did that day. We didn't go out or anything after, but we went back to the hotel and slept. Next up was Paros. So that morning in Santorini, we had breakfast from 7:30 to 8 a.m. because we were leaving at 8:05 a.m. because we had a ferry at 9:20, and that ferry was from like 9:20 to 10:45. So it was one of the shorter ferries that we had. Again, we packed beach essentials in whatever bags we were carrying because we were going straight to the beach because our rooms wouldn't be ready. So we ended up getting there, leaving our bags at the hotel, and then walking to the beach because, like I said, the Paros hotel, although it wasn't great, was walking distance to the beach. So we walked to the beach, and chairs, again, were kind of like the same situation where you have like a minimum spend limit and then your chair is free. So we had to spend 20 to 25 bucks, I don't remember which one it was, around there, in food and drinks in order for your chair to be free. So we ended up doing that. This beach was really, really nice. The water was still, it was clear. We had umbrellas, so it was shaded. That day it was really hot. We took pictures, we just ate there. There are a lot of cats and they will bug you for your food. And I'm not a cat person at all, so that was annoying to me, but that's just a Greek thing. Like, there's cats everywhere in Greece and they bug you for your food. Freaking animals, stay away. But yeah, that was, people were loving it. There was a lot of cat people on my trip and they were loving having the cats all over them. Me, I was like, get the hell away from me. So yeah, we stayed at the beach for a few hours. We left around 5 p.m. so that was a long time, basically from like, let's say like 11:30 by the time we got to the beach till 5 p.m. You could leave whenever you wanted to, but we stayed until like 5 p.m. Then we went back to the hotel and rested and got ready for a group dinner that was included in the trip price. And this group dinner was on the corner by our hotel, so like we walked there. This dinner was terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not worth it. We had like, I forget what it was that we were eating. Tzatziki was really good there. The tzatziki sauce was bomb, but yeah, the food was not it. It was like french fries and like these meatball type things, and everyone was just like, was that our dinner? Like, it was kind of like appetizer-y and not it, but whatever. It was included, so it was free. I mean, you paid for it in your trip price, but like, you didn't pay for it when you were there, so it's basically free because girl math, you know? So yeah, we were all kind of disappointed, but whatever. After dinner, we walked to Paroikia town. It's here, but it's like the main town of Paros. We walked down, like the port town. We walked over there and had a walking tour. We got to explore. We went into like this church, but it was closed by the time we got there, so we didn't get to go inside. And there's like a lot of little cute shops and whatnot, restaurants. And then we had free time, and basically he was like, okay, whenever you want to go back to the hotel, you just follow this path and you're there. So it was like super close to our hotel. We ended up at this like cute bar. It wasn't a rooftop, but it was elevated and had a view, and they had really good drinks, like really good drinks. The waitress was kind of giving attitude, like I don't know what was wrong, but we didn't know how many people were gonna meet us at that restaurant. So when we got there, we're like, oh, there's only 4 of us, but like there could be 15 more of us in a bit. So like, we don't know, just give us a table for 4. So we ended up getting a table for 4 in this like area that had no one around us. So I don't know what the big deal was, but like as people started arriving, we were like, oh, can like they sit at this table? She was like, oh yeah, like, but how many more people are coming? And we were like, oh, we don't know, like, but for now it's just them, so can they sit there? And she was like, oh yeah, it's open seating, but how many more people are coming? And like, she was weird with our menu. She was like, are you done with that? Like, give it back to me. There was no one at the bar either, so like I don't know what the big deal was. I would understand if like people are waiting to be seated and we're like taking up room, or like someone's waiting for a menu, but like we were the only ones there. So I don't know what was going on, but the drinks were bomb, and they give you like little nuts to snack on, so whatever. And after that we went to sleep. So that was the first day in Paros. The next day in Paros, we had breakfast from 8 to 9 a.m. because we were leaving at 9:10. Like I said, I didn't have breakfast at the hotel because the hotel just gave me the heebie-jeebies, so I walked to the little bakery that was on the corner. It seems like basically everyone in the group did this, and that bakery was bomb. I had a ham and cheese croissant and a coffee, and yeah. So we left the hotel at 9:10, and this is the day of our optional boat excursion that our tour director put together. And if your tour director offers this excursion, you have to do it. The barbecue boat tour in Paros. You must. It's a must. It's a must. It was the best day of the trip. We paid 75 euros, and it was an all-day boat tour. So you left for the boat at 9:10 and you got back around 5 p.m. and they gave you all the meals. They got snacks, and you stop at so many different like swim locations, and it was just so much fun. We were jumping off the boat and just like chilling in the water. The water, I will say, was pretty cold, but like I said, I went right before peak season, so the water wasn't warm yet, but we were still in there and vibing, and we got to play music on the boat, and all of us were like taking naps on the boat, and it was just a great day. Great day. Then we got back, like I said, around 5 p.m. Rested and got ready because we were going to Nausa village that night, which was a dinner and walking tour. We left at 7 p.m. for that. We had dinner as a group at a restaurant that our tour director recommended and made reservations for. It was called Accommodations, and this was the best dinner that we had all trip. It was so good, and every single person said that. Like, it wasn't just what I ordered, like every single person on our trip loved this dinner. I had the seafood risotto, the drinks were good, I had calamari, they were delicious. Like, I went off this dinner, like I kind of big spender on this dinner. I spent like 60 bucks on myself, but totally worth it. It was so good. It was one of the people on our tour's birthday that day, and our tour director got him like a little cake, and we sang, and it was great. And after that we had free time, so we just walked around, and we ended up again as usual at a bar. I forget what it was called, but it was really cute, and the bartenders were really nice, and the drinks were delicious. So we ended up being there, and some people went to try like the famous donuts. Like, there's this like, they're like famous donuts, I don't know what to tell you. They're little donuts, and they smother them with a whole bunch of sweet stuff and chocolate and honey and yada yada yada. I didn't try them because I was so full after dinner, because like I said, I went off on myself. I got like an appetizer and entree and dessert and blah blah blah, so I didn't get the donuts, but those that did, they looked delicious and they loved them. So yeah, after that we went to the bar, sat there until it was time to meet up for the bus again, and that was it. That night we all went to bed because that was our last day in Paros before we were traveling to Mykonos. My camera's gonna die, so I'm gonna do this quick. Mykonos, we had that morning in Paros, we had breakfast starting at 8 a.m. Like I said, didn't have breakfast at the hotel, so I went to the bakery on the corner. Had the same thing that I had the day before. Delicious, 10 out of 10 recommend. We left the hotel at 8:50, and then we had a 45-minute ferry ride to Mykonos. When we arrived, we didn't think the rooms would be ready, but to our surprise, they were. So we arrived to the hotel and got to go to our rooms. Then we changed and left for Paradise Beach Club, which is the beach club that's on property. And it's like, when you think Mykonos, it's probably this beach club, honestly. We laid at the beach until the party started at 4:30. So 4:30 is when things get popping and the music starts going and the dancing starts and whatnot. So Until then, we laid on the beach. We did get like a welcome shot from the beach club, and we ordered food at the beach and just like laid there, read, and yeah. At 4:30, we did have like a reserved 2 tables at the beach club, and we're given like these huge buckets of drink, which I'll insert here. I have a picture of, but each table got its own huge bucket, and we just all shared those drinks, and we stayed there for a few hours. But we wanted to change because we felt kind of gross from being at the beach all day. So some of us, after a few hours, went back to shower and change, and then went back to the club again. But it was honestly dead at night, and I was disappointed because like I love Vegas. I love day clubs. Like Vegas is just always popping. So I was expecting that because everyone's like Mykonos, Mykonos, party, 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 right? No, I was disappointed. We went back at night, and I guess everyone had just gone too hard during the day, but it was like empty. And again, I went right before peak season, so it wasn't there yet. It was probably not popping yet, but yeah, it wasn't it. So instead of like Paradise Beach Club is like right next to, connected to like another one right next door. I forget the name of the other one. Tropicana, I think it's like connected. So we walked to the Tropicana side because there was more people over there, and like at least it was a little bit better. But again, still not fully poppin' party vibes. But we spent the night there for a few hours, and then I went back to bed. Wasn't really feeling the best. I think I had gotten way too much sun that day, like at the beach, so it was just like hitting me, and so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. So basically walked back to my room because like I said, we were on property, so that was really, really nice. And then we had a full day in Mykonos, which I will have to charge my camera for. All right, camera is charged, and we are back. I'm leaving for the Dodger game in like 30 minutes, so I'm gonna try to get through the rest of this. But I believe I was last talking about how disappointed I was in the Mykonos nightlife. Yes, that was it. So we went to bed after being out at the clubs all day and night. So then the next day was an entire free day or an optional boat excursion thing that we did. So breakfast started at 8 a.m. I believe this excursion was like $75 directly to our tour director, but honestly, don't quote me on that. I don't remember. Then we had a 9 a.m. departure from the hotel. The boat was from 9 a.m. to 3:45. Kind of the same deal as the first boat tour in Paros. Meals were included on the boat. This one didn't have shade though. Like you could either sit outside like completely in the sun, or you can sit inside the boat in this little area that can fit like maybe like 4 people. But yeah, so we got burnt this day. Make sure you pack your sunscreen for sure. But the swimming spots were gorgeous, and I do not regret going on this excursion either. There was only like maybe like 12 of us on this one, and so it was really chill. We just literally laid down and took naps all day, and it was great. The food was also good. Then we got back to the hotel, had time to rest and chill and nap again until we departed at 7 p.m. to go to the Chora Old Port. This is where the windmills are. This is where all the little cute restaurants and luxury stores and souvenir shops, yada yada yada. You'll find them all in this town. Our tour director did recommend a restaurant that he was going to eat, and he was like, if anyone's interested, I can make a reservation, we can all sit together. So I joined in on that. There was only like 10 of us that did that, or maybe like 8 honestly. Only a small amount of us actually ended up going to the restaurant with him, but it was good. There was another EF Ultimate Break trip there, group there. There were dancing outside, there was sparklers, there were like shots, and it was a fun time. The food was good, and I really enjoyed that. I'm glad I went. And then after dinner, we had time to explore and shop because it was probably not peak season yet. Right before peak season, everything was closing so early. So we had this much time to shop after dinner, and so we were running around. We had seen these like quarter zips that we really, really liked, but this town is like a maze. So trying to find your way back to wherever you saw something is really difficult. So we were like, where did we see that sweater? Like, we need to get back there before they close. Luckily we got there and we were able to buy the sweaters, but that's basically all I had time to buy. So just allow more time to shop if that is something you need to do, especially because this is the last stop basically on your tour. So I hadn't gotten souvenirs for anyone, and I love getting souvenirs for people on every single trip that I'm on. So this last stop was like it for me, so I had to find everything that I needed there, and it was really hard when everything was closing early, so that was rough. And by early I mean like 9:30, 10. Like Europe, things feel like they don't get really poppin' or started till late. So I was really surprised that the stores were closing that early, but again, it wasn't peak season yet, so that's probably why. But after shopping and exploring for a bit, we went back to the hotel and slept. And that was it for Mykonos. The next day, we had breakfast from 8 to 10 a.m. You can go from whatever time that you wanted through that then, but you had to be checked out and out of your room by 10 a.m. and we were departing the hotel at 10:30. So after I checked out, I just sat outside with my luggage and just kind of chilled. I did run to the little liquor store that I mentioned that was in walking distance. I ran there to get chips and stuff for the ferry ride because our ferry was at 12. So we left at 10:30, got to the ferry, boarded at 12, left at 12. This ferry was huge and really nice, so I slept the entire way. It was a long one though. We didn't get to Athens until 4:30. When we got to Athens, we checked into our final hotel, which was the President Hotel. Got into our rooms, had time to relax, unwind, and change. And then we left for the farewell dinner at 7:15. I don't remember the restaurant that our farewell dinner was held at. I will say the farewell dinner wasn't the greatest dinner that I had in Greece at all. Not even close. A lot of us were not a fan of it. I think it was baklava. Pretty sure that's what it was. None of us were huge fans. A lot of people were like, hey, do you want to go to McDonald's after this? But like I said, I had to do shopping. Like, this was my last chance to shop. So I was like, y'all can go to McDonald's, I need to go shop. So after the welcome dinner, I literally was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to find souvenirs. I really wanted to go back to the olive oil shop that we had gone to at the beginning of the trip. And I found it. I found my way back without directions or address or anything. So I'm really proud of myself and my sense of direction. But it was closed because, like I said, everything was closing early. I was like struggling to find places where I can shop still and get souvenirs. I ended up getting everyone this little coin purse from the same place because I was like, I'm not gonna find anything else. So I bought like 20 of those coin purses. That's what I gave to all my teammates and my coaches and everyone. So everyone got basically the same thing. But yeah, like I said, if you want to shop, make sure you make that a priority because things will close early if you're there not during peak season. I can't speak for peak season, but I just think it was so early. Wait, like, why were you closing at 9:30 p.m.? I just got out of dinner. What are you doing? But yeah, and that was the last night in Athens. We did get, like, after dinner, he was like, you're free to do whatever you want. So that's when I went shopping, and he was like, if you want to come back to the hotel with me on the metro, because like I said, we weren't in walking distance from the center anymore. So he was like, if you want to come back with me on the metro, I'll be leaving at 11 p.m. so this is where we'll meet, blah blah blah. I ended up leaving at 11 p.m. with him, but there were a few people that stayed out and went to bars again, and I just didn't have the energy. And like I said, I don't know if I said this, but I was getting sick. Like, I can feel it coming on. Like, I can feel the cold coming. So I was ready for bed and ready to go. I was like, all right, I did what I had to do. Let's go home. So when he said I'm leaving at 11, I was like, all right, I'll meet you at 11. So a few of us went back. I think it was like 6 of us went back with him. Went back to the hotel, packed, relaxed, went to bed because the next day was just our flights home. And like I said, I had the latest flights out of everyone. So everyone was already gone when I woke up. And so I just slept in, went to breakfast. I think checkout was like noon maybe. No, like 11. So I went to breakfast, came back to my room, got my stuff, and then checked it in with the concierge because I wasn't going to leave yet. So checked it in with them, and I was like, can you guys hold my bags? Not that I was going anywhere, but I just didn't want to lug them around the hotel. So they checked my bags for me, and then I just sat in this little like lounge area that they had, just chilled there, looked at my pictures and whatnot until it was time to like meet my taxi outside. Went to go get my bags, got my taxi, and came home. So that was my trip to Greece. Honestly, I enjoyed it despite all, I feel like I was really negative this review, but I really enjoyed it. 10 out of 10 would still recommend Greece. It's a lot of people's favorite trip. I won't say it's my favorite. I don't think it's top 3 either for me personally because I've just done so many other amazing trips with EF so far, but it was still a great trip. Don't regret going. I think everyone has to go to Greece at least once. I definitely want to go back. There's so many other islands I want to see. My biggest tips are to pack Dramamine if you are prone to motion sickness like me for the ferries and for boat rides. Lots of swimsuits. You may think you don't need that many, but I never repeated swimsuits, and I was glad to not have to put on a wet swimsuit. So that was great. A microfiber towel, something that just dries quickly because there are so many water activities and like you don't want to lug around a wet towel. That doesn't sound fun. Pace yourself. There can be a lot of partying if you like want to do a lot of partying on this trip, but you don't have to. Do what you want to do. Don't feel pressured to do what other people are doing. If you want to nap, you nap. If you want to go home early, you go home early. Like, do what you want to do. And lastly, just have fun. I feel like this trip is what you make of it. I did a lot of napping, I did a lot of resting, I did a lot of chilling on the beach, but I've seen other people's experiences on this trip be like party, party, party. So it just depends on what you want. Greece is amazing. It's a beautiful country, rich of culture, really good food. The people are so nice. So I definitely recommend. Like I said, if you are interested in booking a trip, check out my link below for a little discount. And there are so many trips to choose from. So if it's not Greece, let's go somewhere else. That concludes the Greek islands with EF Ultimate Break review recap video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I have another trip with EF Ultimate Break coming up in just a few weeks to Kenya, their Kenya African Safari. So I'm so freaking stoked for that and kind of nervous also because it's just a trip that's like so different to everything else I've done. So we'll see how that goes. I'm a very city girl and I'm gonna learn to be an outdoorsy girl. So we'll see how that goes. Excited. New experiences for sure. I feel like it'll be a trip with a lot of opportunities to get content, so that's exciting as well. Lots of videos coming your way, hopefully. Thank you as always for the support. Please like, subscribe, comment, all of that jazz. Share it with your friends, and don't forget to check out my link below if you're interested in booking a trip with the EF Ultimate Break. Gets you a little discount and it gives me the opportunity to keep traveling with them. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Bye friends.